basis.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people would be up for you just like posting their mangled dick on the internet either. You know, that's you're down.
Sir, this is the Detroit House of Comedy. The other one that they opened was the Plano House of Comedy. And so it's a brand new club, though. We just opened in early June. Was the soft opening. And then we had the grand opening at the end of June.
Well, talk us through the difference between the soft opening and the grand opening. I feel like those terms get thrown around a lot. And it pretty much just means, well, we put out a Facebook ad this week.
For us,
So
there
it's the
was
grand.
I think somewhat of a difference. It was sort of trying to figure out the kinks and stuff before we had real headliner in here, which was Hans Kim was our first weekend. You know Hans Kim?
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know him, but I know
Okay,
he is,
yeah, he very funny comic. He was the grand opening, but the soft opening was just basically we did a Friday and Saturday show for 2 weekends in a row, and it was just 6 local comics each. And it was
couple of
basically
soft comics.
Yeah, it was basically like I suppose, yeah.
You got a couple of soft comics, then
yeah.
you bring in old hard Hans Kim
Yeah.
just to kind of finish the job. They were the foreplay.
Yeah.
Hans came in there. And just
They
really
were like how we
opened it.
figured things
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
It was like, but it was essentially like 6 local headliners
Yeah.
who just did 15 minutes each, on each show. So it was still pretty hard hitting shows. It was really good shows. But we didn't have this curtain right here behind us. It wasn't there yet. So like that back wall that you've seen behind the curtain there, where it's just like old brick and it looks like somebody beat it with a hammer somewhere in the middle of
That's
it for
good
some
for a
reason.
comedy club.
Yeah, it looks
why are you
kinda
talking
cool.
like that would be not what every comedy club was like until
And that's the
1986?
thing. And also people were like, this sort of does have a Detroit vibe
Yeah,
because
yeah.
of that. And it did look cool. I wasn't against it, and people were like, "You can keep it like that; it'd be cool." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." But this stage is already pretty massive.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah,
as you
yeah.
maybe noted last night,
It's
I
a little
think when
big.
you're
It's
on
a
it.
little big for well, at least the crowd that was here last night. But yeah.
In general, it's a pretty big stage,
Yeah.
though. Even if it's a full audience, this is a pretty large stage. And imagine, we pretty much cut it in half, by putting this curtain up.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's probably smart.
Yeah, it helped acoustics a lot as well because this was originally an
That's what I was gonna
improv theater.
ask.
It was Second City Detroit.
Okay.
And then after that, it became City Theater. So it was like they were doing plays and stuff here. So it was really good for groups to be able to say things loud and get good reverberation and have full sets behind them and everything. We don't need all that space, so we just cut it in half. And I think at some point the goal is to maybe get you've done the other House of Comedies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the big screens that are behind
yeah,
us,
that's cool.
the
I like
massive
that a lot.
screen where it has your name on it or whatever. That's the goal, is to have that. So hopefully, you can come back sometime in the future and we'll have Mo Mandel on a giant screen behind you. Yeah.
Oh, that's when you know you made it.
But
When
you
your name,
had
when
that
you're,
before.
I have had it. You're right, but still, just
So
imagine,
you're saying that's how you know you
just
made it.
imagine you had it in Detroit. That's what I meant to say.
Yeah, okay.
I've been on quite a few electric screens, and I've been on some electric billboards, which that's the closest I've been to having my name and face on a billboard. I've been on an electric billboard, and so that's like when you gotta.
Where was the electric billboard
A
at?
huge one in Vegas, huge one in L.A.
I knew you were gonna say Vegas.
But you
for some
have
reason.
to. There you are, and then you have to count 5 seconds, and then you're gone, and then it goes to like an Applebee's and like a dance troupe, and then it goes and then you have to wait for 12 minutes, and then you're up there again. And you can film it again. So yeah, that's as big as I've gotten so far.
It's still got to be a pretty cool feeling.
It's pretty
seeing
cool.
It
It is pretty cool. Yeah.
And that's only. Have you seen that? You've seen that at least a few times in your career now. You've been doing stand up for a while now.
Yeah.
When did you start doing stand up? What year? Do you know what year?
2004, I think.
2004.
Basically, yeah, maybe 2000. The end of 2003, basically 2004, I think.
And how old were you at the time?
Shit, I don't know. A couple years out of college, I guess. So yeah, I don't even know what that would make me. Mid-20s.
Mid-20s.
Probably.
Did you feel you had perspective when you started stand up? At least, because you started at least in mid-20s. I started when I was 19. I didn't have much perspective on the world.
Well, you have perspective on what you have perspective on,
yeah,
right?
which was like all it was my dick, and
right. Well, that's pretty much.
Yeah,
But did you even really have much perspective
yeah.
on your dick at that point? You'd probably showed it to like 3 people. You know what I mean? Like you probably didn't have much perspective. What was your perspective on your dick at 19? What was
that? I wanted to have somebody touch it.
Okay,
It's
well,
like,
there you go.
But
has that really changed? I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 28 now.
Okay, so that's probably like I'm sure a big part of your perspective on it still, right?
It's not as much. No,
Okay.
I mean it is, but not as much for sure.
I think
that was the only perspective I think I had back then.
I mean, yeah, as the longer you live, you definitely have more things you can talk about for sure. But I do think at the time, I think I kind of always just sort of talk about whatever I'm going through. So I think at that time I was still sort of like talking about whatever I was fucking doing, like right out of college and everything. I think your perspective you can have, but it often will not connect to the crowd because comedy clubs are usually full of people who are like in their late 20s to early, 40s, 50s. It's not really young people. Like really young people usually have better things to do than go to a comedy club. Like they're going to raves, they're getting hand jobs and fucking Coachella concerts or whatever. They're not like sitting there having a 2-drink minimum because they can't afford it. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I see like young comics who are funny, but they're performing in front of like a comedy club crowd who are just like, dude, we don't even know what a Gen Z is.
Yeah, it is.
Eddie Murphy was 20 when he performed it, so there is no excuse, right? Well, yeah, if you're a once-in-a-generation lifetime talent, you can probably find the rest. Guys like me and you got to just talk about our dick, right? Yeah. Though he talked about his dick quite a bit in that special too.
Yeah, he did. It was quite a bit about sex and his dick.
That is crazy. He was 20 at that special, and he was already like a huge star off Saturday Night Live and shit. That's what's so insane.
Yeah, I mean it's.
When we're 20, we'll get there.
Yeah, it's wild to think some people were that young when things started happening for them. Pete Davidson, he was pretty young.
Very young. I mean, I remember when Pete Davidson came to L.A. for like, I don't know, like maybe a year.
Yeah, you probably knew him. You were in the
briefly,
scene.
yeah, and he actually lived in my building, and I remember he legitimately got kicked out for smoking too much weed. Like, there was too much weed smell. Oh, that's true. Which I don't even know. You know how much weed smell you got to be generating to get kicked out of a building in Los Angeles? I mean, that's
a lot of weed.
And it wasn't like a good building, of course. So I do remember that happened, but then the next year.
Was this him already into SNL?
No.
No, this is pre-SNL.
Yeah, he had just booked like a pilot. He was doing like a pilot for Fox or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
How did you start at 19, though? That's so crazy. So you were just out of high school?
I wanted to start earlier. I knew when I was about 17 that I was going to do stand-up comedy or that I was going to try it. I just sort of had to figure out how. And then around 19, I finally got my first car, October of 2013. And then I started.
What kind of car?
Chevy Cavalier.
Nice. It's a good first car.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, that's a good first car.
I beat it into the ground doing stand-up comedy, driving it all over the place. I put a lot of miles on that car. I got it in October of 2013 and did my first show in December of 2013.
So you got the car. You're like, now I'm going to start getting pussy. You still didn't start getting pussy. You're like, all right, I better start doing stand-up.
I better figure out comedy, yeah.
And then that still didn't work. So you're like, oh, what if I work at a comedy club?
Yeah.
Maybe that's... And then he got the tattoo. He's trying everything.
Yeah.
Which one? Was it the amalgamation of them all that really worked? Or was there...
I don't know,
Have you not found it yet?
No, I don't know. I mean,
you get the beard. You ever try the beard?
Yeah, I've had the beard for years now.
Okay.
Sometimes I shave it off just to see if I'm still myself, and I feel okay about it.
I feel like you look like, without the beard, I bet you look like you're like 18 years old.
Yeah, I look pretty young. When I shave the beard off, people think I lost weight every time, and then they also feel like I'm a lot younger. Yeah,
Looks
people
good.
think
I'm
people think I'm in my early 30s with the beard usually, but then without the beard, they're like mid 20s.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you guys have a huge advantage over my generation, man, because you grow up with. I mean, comedy is all social media now. And when I started comedy, it's like I think MySpace had just come out, or like the year after, So it's like I was already like didn't really know how to do all that shit. You know,
I
like,
had an advantage on you.
yeah. I mean, I had
in a
HPV
sense.
before Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not.
Yeah, you were. I was coming out. I was clean in high school and already on
Yeah,
Twitter.
you guys already know how to do all that shit. I mean, we didn't even have cell phones in high school.
Yeah,
you know, it's just like
I already had a couple hundred tweets under my belt.
Yeah.
You know, before
it's
I
not
even.
fair. Now I got to compete with all you young fucks and your.
Yeah. So
I mean,
when I
granted,
started,
Rogan's pretty big on social media. He's like, I don't know, probably 60 or something, but
yeah. Well, if you think
Maybe
about
he's
it
not
from
60,
also
is he?
even this perspective,
55. Rogan is like, but he clearly got the devil in a headlock or something, and he he and Joey Diaz are not the same age. Really? Wow, that's wild. That's wild. Joey's probably lived a little bit wilder life. I guess.
one of them takes better care of themselves.
Yeah.
It is wild though. Yeah, I think I've said this to somebody else who was on the podcast, another person who was here, is that before I started stand up, I listened to You Made It Weird like religiously with Pete Holmes.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I did.
That's
I
crazy.
loved that podcast, and the thing was, like, I was a huge fan of comedy. So every time I would watch the new batch of Comedy Central Presents, which you ended up having, one, I would go to Google and basically type in "You Made It Weird" and type in that comedian's name, and Pete Holmes had everybody on at that point. Like he
Not
was like
me.
he was. It felt like
Pete, fuck, bro. Where was my booking in
Yeah.
2010?
I don't know, man. It felt like he had like everybody
Yeah.
on there, and like I could just look up their name,
Yeah.
and then they would give their whole backstory of how they started stand-up comedy and
Dude,
everything.
those
and,
presents
like,
were awesome, man.
it was-
Doing that Comedy Central Presents was fucking so.
were
was
you
so
in the
exciting.
batch? Were you towards the end of it, where they just sort of made the backdrop for you, or did you get to choose your own backdrop?
No, I was in the end where they chose your own. I think I might have been the first year they did that. 'Cause
Man.
I know that was a bummer. I had exactly what I wanted to do. Although
What
it's
did you want to do?
Yeah, it's really funny because I wanted to do like an apocalyptic circus tent, and then a year or two after I had to shoot it with just my name, I saw Louis C.K.'s early one, and it was the exact same thing. So it's like, all right, maybe it's good I didn't do it.
Yeah,
But it was
somebody was
fucking
just telling
awesome.
me the other day that Louis C.K. was a circus tent. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
we were talking about it.
But that when I first got into comedy, it was just through those specials too. Like you just watch those, and they were all so good, and they were so fun, and like they would play them all the time.
Yeah.
But you realize the people who really watch those are people who want to do comedy.
That was me.
Yeah, 'cause
I watched
when mine first
I
came out.
watched them
I'd have
all.
people come up to me, at shows and be like, "Oh, that's so funny," but then they always would be like, "I'm a comic too." And
Yeah.
you'd be like, "Oh, okay, so this is not gonna help me sell tickets."
Maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 years prior to yours, it was like people could tour like
Right.
real well off of that, and like people were really watching those, I feel like, and it wasn't just people who wanted to be comedians, like you said,
You
Like
talk to
it-
people who do like Comedy Central hours at a certain point, they're like, nobody watched it.
Yeah.
Like nobody signed up.
Yeah.
I mean, it is so weird because when I started, it was like if you had a Comedy Central Presents and a Conan, like you just could be a national headliner.
Yeah.
And now it's sort of like none of it matters. Like maybe a Netflix
Wild.
special, but like it's more interesting if you've been on like a couple of podcasts. That
But
are
even like a
popular.
Netflix half hour, it's like a half hour. It's got to be an hour. It
Yeah.
feels like it has to be an hour almost. It's
But-
like, which is the crazy part. Like,
the reality though is, I mean, when
but
I was
it doesn't
really
have to be either, because other people have gone outside the system now. We've
Right.
seen it, they've done the YouTube route, like.
But the main difference is clubs don't help you draw anymore. Like way before I had been on TV at all, when I first started, I guess I'd done a few things when I first started headline, like in 2008. I would draw probably way more than I do now because clubs would get you on the radio, they get you on the TV, they did. So you would get all these opportunities when you came into town. You come in a day early, and you would perform on all these outlets, and people would come if you did well,
Yeah.
And now they don't do anything. You just show up and they're like, numbers are low, and you're like, well, what the fuck was I going to do? I never even been here before. And they're like, you should have been on a podcast that people listen to in the city. And you're like, well, fuck you, then you should be paying me more if you expect me to fill this place on my own. And not just here. I mean, like every club, they do
Yeah.
nothing. And so it's sort of like, damn, I don't know. It's weird. It's very weird. And I don't
think
know
it's
what
also
changed.
hard. I think like with like the fact that like radio and TV isn't even watched as much anymore.
Maybe that's
too,
it. Maybe
like,
that's it.
And I don't think that doesn't excuse the not having.
I think
people
clubs
do
got
things.
spoiled by having people with their own huge draws. And I don't mean this, but I mean like every club I go to now.
Yeah.
Because the few that do get you on the radio it does make a difference.
Yeah.
Every now and then you go to a club and they do get you on a good radio show, and I'm great on the radio, and I know how to do it, and it makes a difference. But I think clubs have realized that, like, oh, what these people are, like 99% of a comic's job now is on the internet. You know, so it's sort of changed. The whole thing changed. It used to be like you work on your act 99% of the time, and then you do a little bit of promoting. Now,
insane.
It's all promotion. Like
Yeah.
it's weird. It's a weird job now. Now it's like, oh, you should be spending your time 100% of the time on the phone being a marketer, and then go fly into a gig, which is like, oh, that's fun and creatively satisfying, I guess. I don't know. Not for me, but I mean, you have to find. I guess you got to
like
find a
you're
way to do it.
supposed to be putting clips out all the time and
Like,
everything. It's
yeah.
like it used to
It's
be
weird.
like you save up your material to put out an
Yeah.
hour, you know, and somebody gives you an hour and you
Yeah.
finally present that hour to people, or you record the album and put out the hour, you
Right.
know.
It feels
and now
very
it's like you
disposable.
got to burn all the material before you ever get to an hour, you know.
Yeah.
They expect, and then it's like if you put out the hour, it almost feels like, what's the point? Well, it's like, you
Right.
know,
People are like, oh, I've seen all this shit.
Yeah.
You're like, well, yeah, dude. I mean, I had to put out a clip every 2 days. Like, just saying this fucking
every
algorithm.
day is
Yeah.
what I hear
That's
now.
crazy.
That's like what I hear. It's crazy.
And then you put up some trash crowd work. You're like, dude, this is fucking bullshit. You're like, well, dude, I know I have 7 hours of material that I can just fucking burn for free on some fucking app. That
Yeah.
I don't know if it's even like a bot who's watching this. Like, I don't know. It's definitely weird. I mean, and it all does feel very disposable because, like, the way that you can reference Delirious, like, I can almost not reference anyone's special at all. And there's like a new one. I mean, unless it's Chick Chappelle or someone just gargantuan, but it's almost like it just doesn't. It's all just like the same shit. You know, it's all kind of just like disposable. Not that the material's not still great, but you don't really. It's not a thing anymore.
It feels very, it feels rare that there's a good special these days, and like that's why a good one really stands out.
But
this
does
year,
it stand out like that to the average
there's
person?
very few, and it doesn't to the average person, and that's the thing is like there's been some comics that I've like Ali Sadiq's special that he put on YouTube, The Domino Effect, this year. I think it's the special of the year. Phenomenal special. Amazing special. So good. Like, the content is very just captivating, what he's talking about. The jokes are solid. Like, really good special all
great.
around. But every time I tell somebody, they're like, I haven't seen it.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the other
It's
thing, too,
like-
is there's just so much of it, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
like, it is, at the same time, I will say what's better about comedy now is it's more democratic because, like, yeah, you can just put out your special and the cream can rise to the top, whereas before you had to get in with Comedy Central, HBO, or fucking, I don't know, Spike TV at a certain point. But, yeah, but at the same time, there was just less shit out there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if there was only like 4 specials, yeah, like you're going to know what they are, so.
Did you ever work with Spike TV?
I don't think so. I probably tried to pitch him something before because they were owned by Comedy Central. Basically, they were all like the same. Like Comedy Central was
Viacom?
here, and then Spike was here, and then MTV was like here. Yeah, they were all like Viacom. I worked for a lot of the other Viacoms. Never got to work with Spike. Been on Fuse before. I think I've been on.
I think you could probably like. That's
I think
probably.
I've been on Fuel TV.
I feel like it's probably for the better. Like I don't. I
mean,
think
I
people
think-
are coming out for Spike TV credits
I don't think
anymore.
well, yeah, I know. I think like the other day, someone's like, "Oh, I watched your special." I'm like, "On what?" They're like, "Oh, it's on Tubi now." I'm like, "Oh, cool."
Hey, they saw it, like, you
It's
know.
on
like,
Tubi. I don't even know what the fuck
wherever-
that
you're
is.
Like, I didn't even know, but cool. Thank you for watching.
I saw
yeah.
you on Roku.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
With that said, though, Roku might be where the eyeballs are. I could be way off. I'm sure it's not on Comedy Central anymore. So
What is
maybe
it that
Roku's the
putting
spot.
out? You know what Roku just put out? They're putting out that Weird Al movie.
So there you
That
go.
with Daniel Radcliff
I'm
playing
lucky to
Weird
be on
Al.
Roku. What am I
It's got a
talking shit?
It's got a crazy cast in that movie,
Yeah.
and it's Weird Al's life story. It's called Weird. It's directed and like written or like produced by Weird Al and
See,
stuff.
here I am talking shit.
Daniel
Roku's
Radcliffe.
good enough for Harry Potter. It's definitely good enough for Mo Mandel. Fuck
And
it.
Weird
Yeah.
Al.
And
yeah,
Weird
they're
Al.
getting in the comedy game, Mo. So
I gotta-
I
yeah.
think
See, this is I'm a dinosaur.
this
I
is
don't
perfect
know.
timing for
I
you to
know.
get in with Roku.
I thought I should just keep up my clips on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Turns out it's moved on
it's to Roku now.
to Roku.
That's where you got to put the clips at. Yeah. That's the thing too. It's like you're supposed to put them on TikTok, Instagram Reels,
I've
YouTube
had some
Shorts.
big ones on Reels.
Yeah.
on Facebook Reels. I'm not kidding. I have
Yeah.
one that's about 12 million right now. I got another one to hit 5 million, and that at least they'll start to pay you. Like I at least made $1,200 last month on the Reels,
That's good.
which is good.
Yeah.
But $1,200 off like 17 million views. It's a lot of views.
Are you recording your shows all the time now, or just
Yeah.
So you record every show now.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, I mean, so then if you have any improvisational moments or
Yeah.
something, or any like decent crowd work stuff, you can take it out of there, or any material you do want to put out if you do feel like putting something out at this point, But I mean, it's nice that you're getting that now because it feels part of the job.
Yeah,
It's
you at
crazy.
least get a little bit of money. It's like they should all be giving you that. It's just crazy.
Do you
How they've roped us into this fucking treadmill where everyone has to just be giving everything for free, and they don't give you any money. Like Instagram. I guess they kind of give you money, but like a little bit. I mean, Facebook just a little bit. It's like. It's weird how they've roped all of society into this social relevancy contest that we're all like now have to be in for the rest of our lives.
Yeah, essentially. And
it's not just comedy; it's everything.
Oh,
like
yeah.
my wife, she's like I think I told you last night. She's like the most followed urologist on Twitter, and she gets like hit up by all these magazines, Time magazine, everything. If there's anything they want to know about urology, they hit her up. All this stuff, and it's just because she is that name now, and that will probably help her get other stuff, which is great. And she's worked hard to build it, but it's still like, it's just weird that even as a doctor, that little number next to your name makes you more valuable than someone who's maybe been practicing for like 30 more years than you, but they don't have it. You know what I mean? But I'm
Yeah.
glad it's that way. Ashley Jean Winter on Twitter, 107,000, I think, at this point.
Does she have like videos of like surgeries?
No,
and
she doesn't
stuff?
do it. She just does tweets. She doesn't have she hasn't put the effort into like really doing any videos and stuff. But
Oh.
just the Twitter has grown.
I guess it would be
insane.
hard to put videos of
Dick
you doing
surgeries,
genitalia surgery on a regular basis.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many people would be up for you just like posting their mangled dick on the internet either. That's you're down. Yeah, Twitter's fine with it. Right.
Twitter's cool. Yeah, for sure.
You could do like an OnlyFans or something.
Yeah, Reddit. They're down with it too. But that's wild that she ended up becoming the most popular urologist.
Yeah.
And how did
she's
that?
hilarious.
Is it just because of like her Twitter? This sort of happened, or, like
It's just
because
the
she's
Twitter,
just funny, like on Twitter.
She's
Or is,
funny.
like-
She's very cute. She dresses like she puts her fun outfits on there, and she's just really funny. Like but what she really figured out is like she plays to the demo of doctors, nurses, healthcare, and sort of like a lot of the things she'll say are like super funny. If you're in that world, you totally get it.
How is it for you?
And now she's expanded out though, and it's just like it's funny.
How is it for you, like, when you have to be in her world? Because you're a comedian, and, like, sometimes you have to go to these medical events, I'm sure, and deal with a bunch of other doctors who are very, very smart people. And, like, not to say you're not or anything, but you're a comedian. You're a little goofy,
Well,
like,
this is luckily
and
she's
maybe they don't get that goofy always,
But
you
she's
know?
a dick
Like,
doctor, and
Yeah.
so they are pretty goofy.
Oh,
Like
okay.
they have even the most skilled urologists on the planet have a goofy. We're operating on dicks and balls and buttholes kind of sensibility.
Gotcha.
So yeah, generally they're pretty cool, and they often find it interesting that you're a comedian because they don't really they don't meet a lot of comedians or whatever.
Have you ever had to perform at, like, an event that she has
No,
put
although I
apart?
did get hired by this company to do some promo videos for them about some dick stuff. So that was pretty cool.
She helped you get that?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like through her. Yeah, the company was like, "Hey, you want to make these videos promoting this dick product?" And so
You're like, I was made for this. Yeah, let's do
Yes,
it.
I do. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Are you kidding
It's actually
me?
it's pretty
Yeah.
cool. It's called Firm Tech.
Yeah.
This is true. It's called Firm Tech, and it is a cock ring that measures your health through the firmness and blood flow of your dick, and it has Bluetooth. So you can check this out. They should actually pay me for giving this extra plug. But you basically, your body health determines your erectile strength. And so if you wear this thing at night or during sex, it'll tell you like how many, like all the virility of your dick, which will tell you a lot about how your heart is going. So it's pretty cool. It's like,
Are they still in
sci-fi.
business?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so. I shot those videos like 4 months ago, so I hope they are.
Okay. I was like, I don't It doesn't sound like something that people will get a lot of use for, but
Well,
I'm
you're
like, I don't
28.
know,
I mean,
you know?
well, your dick's probably just working off Chipotle. You know what I mean? But people,
yeah.
people get older. People have weight problems. People have heart problems. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, is that is it a doctor used product?
Yeah, it's invented by a doctor.
Oh, is it for doctors to use or for people at home?
I know it's for people at home. You know what I mean? So
I don't know how many people are going to purchase. I mean, but
Well,
I don't know.
you're
I
out-
don't
you
know
don't have to
anything
invest.
about it.
You don't have to invest. Man. You're really shitting on what
I'm
I just
out,
told you was
all
one of
right?
my, employers. I don't know why you think this is helpful.
I think they should take it behind the shed and
Wow.
shoot it. I'm going to be Kevin O'Leary here.
Okay.
No,
I
I'm
told you,
just
I
kidding.
just got paid to make these promos.
No, I'm sure
trying
it's
to do an
probably a
extra
great
plug.
product.
You're shitting all over it. You don't even know what it is.
I don't. It just I can't. I don't know anything about how it would be used. It just it sounds
put
like
it on
I
your
would
dick.
never use
Yeah,
it.
well, here's the other thing about it. It like measures who's like you and your buddies
Is
can know
this
who's
sold
got
at like
the
a
stronger
sex
dick.
shop or from like a medical professional?
I think it's sold from like I don't know if it's in sex shops. Maybe it is. I know it's on their website. But you could know who has a stronger dick between you and your buddies without having to do what you usually do, which is going back behind the
Dude,
shed.
all right, you go in this room. I'm gonna go in this room.
Right.
We're both gonna get hard
We're
and see
both gonna
who
try
has
to
the
hit the
stronger.
wall.
I think my dick's stronger, man.
Yeah, without having to make them wrestle and shit. Now you can just do it in the safety of your own room.
Yeah. Are you tired of dick wrestling with your buddies? We can find out whose dick is stronger without any of that struggle.
Well, I do think it's interesting that your dick tells you how good your heart is. I think that's interesting. Like, if somebody is like having erectile, because sometimes you get erectile dysfunction. You might be like, oh, it's just in my head, or I drink too much. But if you're having consistently like the amount of erections you get while you sleep tells you how healthy you are. But you don't know that unless you can hire someone to sit there and like click,
Yeah.
click, count them out.
I just always wake up with it. Yeah.
Right. So this will tell you like, oh shit, all right. So if they're not, then you got to go to the doctor and figure out what's going on. You're having sleep apnea or something's going on. Because this is what they should tell guys who are fat. What I know from my wife is diabetes is what mainly fucks up dicks, unless you're like really old. So all these fat fucking dudes you see out there, they got pretty much soft dicks, and if they can, they should. That's how they should put on like burgers and stuff. Like everything for like diabetes is like the way they do with cigarettes. Either your lungs is just like a shriveled up, unhard dick, and be like, "You sure you want to eat that Snickers? This is gonna affect your dick." So that's good comedy right there. But that is a
I'm
real
scared
fact.
now.
Hey, how much
I should make
how much
better
sugar do you
life
put in that
choices.
coffee? Yeah, you talk shit about this firm tech. Keep putting that sugar in that
Be
coffee.
using it in
There
a
you
few
go.
years.
Exactly.
We'd be like, Mo was right about firm tech.
Yeah, and the next time you can't get up, I want you to text me and be like, "Yo, you were right. Give me the number."
What's the website?
What's the point of having this cavalier?
Are they on Amazon?
Probably. We can look it up right now.
Can I prime it? No.
I do think they should incorporate that tag, though. Are you tired of dick wrestling with your buddies outside the shed? Come on down to Firm Tech.
We'll show you whose dick is stronger without you even wrestling.
The thing is, I bet there's people listening like, fuck, that's kind of, I want to know that.
There might be somebody who listens
I-
who like buys one just to sort of figure out who between their buddies.
Aren't you like kind of curious how many boners you get in the middle of the night? Like, I just think that would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is just like a weird stat to have over your buddy.
Yeah.
Imagine just using that over your buddy. Just
I mean, why not? You make fun of your buddy for everything else. Like, I'd like to know. Like, it would be interesting to know if you get like your consistently of your erections are way harder than your friends.
Yeah.
Well, or it would be good to put on your dating profile.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, I got a 5.6 dick strength. You could put that up there, and now people know, like, I'm hard this often. I mean, I think in the future you will probably put that on there. We don't have time. We don't got time to date these soft dick fellas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, or just like.
Yeah, credit score 760, dick score 825. Come on down to Firm Tech.
Oh man, yeah. I just think about holding it over your buddy or
Yeah.
something and being like, "Hey, Dave, get me a beer," and then he's like, "I'm not getting you a beer," and be like, "Dude, my dick's stronger than you.
You want me to fucking
Give me a
hit you with
beer."
this dick?
We measured dick strength, and we know.
Yeah, I have. No, I have. I've put one on.
So
yeah, it's pretty comfy.
what's like ideal dick strength?
I don't
then?
know.
Do you
dude. I
know?
haven't
You
tried. Dude, I'm rock hard all the time,
you're the
bro. I'm
spokesman.
not talking about no small dick fellas. Not a spokesman.
This is what it is.
Yeah.
Firm tech.
Yeah, there you go. It's pretty comfy. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it has a latch. It's got like a latch on it.
I didn't think there would be this much dick talk on the podcast.
I'm sorry, dude. I mean,
I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry. You filling us in on the architectural
happen
choices
yet.
of this club was fascinating shit. You know what I mean? Like, anyone gives a fuck about what you were saying about the curtain before? I mean, like, come on. I'm trying to revive it. I'm trying to find some. This is a flaccid podcast from the
Hey,
start.
man.
I'm trying to firm tech this podcast. All right. If you want to go into the designer of the stools and stuff, or where this was built in Singapore, this nightstand, we could go back into that too.
Man, it did. Those bike stands did break quick. Honestly,
Yeah,
we
dude,
got
that was humiliating. People weren't at the show last night. I fucking pulled the mic stand. I just tore right out of the base.
Yeah, we bought them at the beginning of June, and we got 2 of them, and both of them have already broken. Like they're just stripped.
Good.
It's
You better
on the
not
bottom.
deduct that from my check.
No,
Now that I
you're
know
good. That
know
wasn't
they're-
you. That
Okay,
was
good.
before you.
That's
no, but I am taking it out of your check anyways.
What if I get you
Just
a free,
on principle.
What if I get you a free firm tech? Free used firm tech for my bag.
All right, we got a deal. I wanted to ask you about Comedy Knockout.
Yeah.
You were the creator of that.
Yeah. Hey, check it out.
Which
Look at this. Hold on. Before we move on, look at these shoes.
True TV,
True TV
Adidas.
I have like 7 pairs
That
of
is,
these things.
oh my god, that's
Yeah.
so cool. Actually, I really love that.
I don't like that, actually.
I mean,
I like the
like,
shoes. I need to
it's-
cover. If there was a way to cover up the logo, but the shoes are great. But
No, but those are like unique. Nobody else has True. How many other people have True TV Adidas?
No, I think it's cool. I mean, True TV's cool. True TV's paid me a lot of money over the years, so I'm a big fan of True TV. I just think when you walk around with like a brand, I don't know. Then I'm like double brand. Like one of my feet are like NASCARs at this point,
Yeah.
But again, I do like True TV. They paid me a lot of money, and I hope they would hire me again. I'm giving them free advertising. Why don't we do a show about firm tech?
about dick wrestling.
Yeah, it'll be like Impractical Jokers meets dicks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Comedy Knockout. Show I created for True TV.
That was shot in Chicago, right?
New York.
New York?
Yeah.
I thought it was Chicago for some reason. I thought
You were
somebody told
wrong.
me Chicago.
You were incorrect. I don't know what you want me to go with.
I got.
on that.
Yeah, I
You
am
were just
wrong. I am
factually
wrong. I'm
off.
just factually.
Actually,
off.
it's interesting. The first 2 seasons were shot in the studio where they shot Chappelle's show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool in Harlem.
Was it set up from that when it was something else at that point, right?
Well, this was
Yeah.
probably about 12, 15 years
Okay,
before we
yeah,
were
yeah.
there. So
I was like,
I'm
yeah.
assuming there was something in between Chappelle's show and
Wait, so
Comedy
you guys
Knockout.
shot it in on a
Let's
sound
hope.
stage?
Let's hope so.
You guys shot it on a sound stage.
Yeah, I was on a soundstage. No, the set looked like we were in like a sewer system, right? Like you understand that we were not actually
I
underground in a bunker.
No, I didn't think it was a sound stage though. I don't
Really?
know why. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I hope the set designer's listening. He'd be pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was, but it had a shit ton of comedians on
Yeah.
that show.
Dude, we did like 86 episodes.
Yeah,
Fucking
like
crazy.
I remember just seeing so many comics with like the Comedy Knockout credit.
Yeah.
You gave so many comics
I know.
a credit, which
Yeah, and you'd think
It's
more of
pretty
them
dope.
would have me on their podcast now. You know what I mean? Like, I gave a lot of comics a credit and $1,000 to do the show,
Yeah.
and probably some True TV shoes. You'd think more of them would have me on their fucking podcast, but what are you gonna do? It is what it is.
so did you create that by yourself then?
Yeah. Well, yes, I created it by myself. Had the idea. Brought it to a production company, and then of course, things develop through development. But yeah, I am the credited creator. I think it says
And then did you get
it was awesome.
Did you get to choose who went on the show, or was that
I got
a
to
whole
weigh in. I
team?
was an exec producer, but then we had a lot. Yeah, I don't know, 5 other exec producers, and they were all very they all added their own touch to the show, and then they all had their own opinions. And then we had like a booker, and then the network would weigh in. Like some people I couldn't get on, I was just blown away.
Who were the ones that you couldn't get on that you wanted to get on? Do you remember any?
I do. I don't really want to say it
No?
because it just probably wouldn't go over great. I did
Fair.
have one person who had me on their very big podcast during Comedy Knockout, and they were like, hey, and then I asked to be on it again. They're like, well, why haven't I been on Comedy Knockout? And they're like, get me on Comedy Knockout, and then you come back on it. And I did try, and the network just hated them. And they wouldn't let me on. And so then that person hates me now because they think I didn't get them on. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. I can show you the email. But I don't know why. It's always weird with these networks. Like they have like they'll have opinions they just hate people, and then the people they love that you're like, why the fuck is that person on? You know, like it's completely.
It
bizarre.
might just be they're friends with somebody,
right.
You know, and that's what it could boil down to, is that they've known somebody for years or something.
Yeah,
They happen to have a dinner with somebody at some point that went well.
Yeah, but it was it was fucking awesome, dude. We shot for it was 2 or 3 years. We were just constantly shooting out there. So it was cool.
Was that your first experience as a creator of a TV show?
Yeah, I mean I had sold plenty of other shows, but that was the first one that actually got made. Yeah,
and then that went more than one season. That went multiple seasons.
Yeah,
3 seasons.
I mean, 3 true TV seasons. 86 episodes on another network would probably be like 7 seasons or 6 seasons, you know. But they do these monster, like Impractical Jokers has been on for what 50 years, constantly, and they're only on their like 9th season or something like that because they just do so many episodes.
And then they have all of like the Impractical Jokers episodes with like the behind the scenes stuff, like the pop ups on there as well.
Yeah.
And
I had Sal came into the show on Comedy Knockout. Sal Vulcano,
That was early in him sort of getting into stand-up at that point.
Yeah.
Did you know him at that time? Or was that just like True TV being like,
no,
this is
I
our guy?
actually, no, I don't think they wanted them to come on.
Oh, really?
Because they were like, if they lose or they're not funny, it's going to hurt their cash cow. And I think Sal was I think I had asked him if he would do it, you know? And he was the one who was down to do it. So that was cool. He's a great guy.
I saw him.
He's like the best, dude.
I've only seen him do stand-up once. It was when him, Bert Kreischer, Nate Bargatze, and Kyle Kinane did a little theater tour together. And they did Fox Theater right down the street here, right over on the other block. And that show was like packed out. And that was, I feel like, fairly early on in him doing stand-up. It seemed like maybe like a couple of years at that point. Like
he's good, man. He's really good.
And he was really funny. Yeah. I mean, but he's already been in comedy for years, you know? So I think somebody who's been in comedy and comedy writing and, you know, sketch and improv
don't really know about that
understands
show.
it.
Yeah, they were like an improv troupe in college, so they had been doing this shit forever.
And there's also a lot of stuff on that show that's written even beyond the, like, it seems as if like the way they've talked about it in interviews and stuff that like there's a lot more written into it than people think there is, you know? People think it's a lot more improv than it actually
I mean
turns
that's
out
always
to
the
be.
case on those things. I mean they have they have writers, you know. And they
Yeah.
have all that stuff. No, it was cool. And then I created a show for Discovery Channel called Small Town Throwdown that we shot the pilot first episode and then we delivered it in like February of 2020 and then COVID hit. So it was like, you know, there was like, it's a travel show.
Yeah.
So they aired it as like a special, which is fucking great. It's really, really good. If you have Discovery Plus, you can still watch it, called Small Town Throwdown.
I mean,
but then
anybody who doesn't have Discovery Plus in a few months, if you have HBO Max,
it's all gonna be the
you'll
same
be
thing.
able to watch it on HBO Max. So
Right.
if you're watching this a few months from now, maybe check your HBO and see if they have Small Town Throwdown.
You can also watch Comedy Knockout on HBO Max.
Yeah, watch Comedy Knockout.
But that was pretty cool. The concept of that show was like all around the country there's these towns with these like terrible reputations, you know, like ugliest town, worst town, this town. And so we would go to those towns and give them a chance to like tell their story, you know, and then like leave them with some sort of like marketing little tool to help them like rebrand themselves or whatever. And then I would write articles in USA Today. And
what were like the marketing
fucking
tools
cool.
you left behind?
Well, like, you know, we would buy up, you know, we were going to buy up all the the Google AdWords for their town to direct them to our article instead of those articles. You know, we were going to like, you know, create like you know, a mural in the middle of town that highlighted the different parts of the town that nobody, you know, focused on, you know. It was, we only got to do one episode, so we didn't really get a chance to read them. But we had all these different ideas, you know, like just different things that sort of like remind people who come to that town of what that town's about, or like, you know, marketing kind of stuff. Like we would sort of load up Google with articles about how fucking awesome that town is, because if you Google that town, you get all this fucking negative shit, you know. So kind of like a John Oliver sort of, you know, approach to that. But we did 2 towns in the first episode. We went to Appleton, Wisconsin, which is known as the drunkest town in America. And then we went to Lubbock, Texas, which is known as the most boring town in America.
Have you performed in these towns before?
I have performed in Appleton a million years ago.
Yeah.
But I've never performed
That's
in
like
Lubbock.
Skyline, right?
Skyline, yeah.
Yeah, Skyline Comedy Club.
I know. I want to go back there because we did so much media for that show that I bet I could get in a bunch of people.
Have you ever written for a reality show?
I wrote for a show.
This is because I've talked to some other people about writing for reality shows, and I find it fascinating.
Well, I wrote for this show called Barely Famous on VH1, and it was technically.
Dan, are you familiar with this? You're laughing at it.
It's actually really good. It's I'm not kidding. It is really good. No, but it's a thing. It wasn't a reality. It was. Well, didn't even pretend like it was a reality show. Like if you watched it with a half a brain, you knew this was like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Okay.
But the idea was it was a reality show. It looked like a reality show.
It was like a mockumentary.
It was a mockumentary, yeah. But the way we wrote it was like we would write all the beats and stuff, and then they would kind of just like improvise the stuff. But they were very beated. I mean, they were like very beated out scripts. So like if you watch them, it's like. Yeah, it was like that kind of thing, and it was great. I mean, they only did I think we did 2 seasons, but like each season was only 6 episodes. But I played, and I was in it too. I played one of the main female's ex-boyfriends, and so the first season I'm like this really douchey comic on his way up, and then the second season they were trying to get like a real talk show host to be on it, like Jimmy Kimmel and all this, because they got Dr. Phil and they got a ton of celebrities on the show. They got like fucking Jessica Alba, like all these people, but they couldn't get a talk show. So then they just decided, all right, well, how about the boyfriend from last season is now like a star? So I had my own Mo Mandel tonight, and I interviewed Aaron Foster, who was one of the stars, and Kate Hudson. It's fucking awesome, like on my fake talk show.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, man.
That's pretty cool. I mean, those are like the cool moments that I think like sometimes you get in comedy. Like I think like those are some of. I think the best things are the moments almost associated with comedy that I hear a lot of comedians talk about, and or when you get to like meet like musicians that you look up to or something, or like that you admire. Like those experiences are really cool.
No, I mean show business is cool, man. I even though it's just a crazy business and it can leave you bitter and angry half the time, it's just still cool. Like I went and met a buddy of mine the other day who's writing on some huge show, and we were walking around the lot, and I was showing my wife like the Fox lot and stuff, and it's just still cool. I don't know. I still like it. I still want to be a part of it, So the moments that like with Comedy Knockout, like I would look around and I'd be like, fuck, dude, like all these people have jobs because of the show. Like that's awesome. Like we are doing all this, even if it's just not like premium cable money, it's still a lot of money going into like making this television show. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah. I relate to that in the sense of like
this podcast?
Getting to manage a comedy club. Getting to manage a comedy club here.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
Like, where it's like getting to give a lot of people opportunities, and like you're able to help a lot of people have jobs, like especially like when it comes to comedians, like you're able to help employ other comedians and be like, hey, I'm giving you work. Like you get fucking work. How dope is that?
Totally.
Like I get to help out other people like me,
right.
Like we get to help out our kind in a sense, you know,
and even
because we know how hard like that is to come across at times, or like how valued work, like comedy work can be.
And I think it's important to remember too, and I have to remind myself of this, of like the responsibility that you have to make the people have a good time. Like they it's not just about you. It's like they really did take time out of their day to come here, and they paid money for a babysitter and all this shit. So it's like you have to remind yourself of that. But I think people forget with all the like stupid articles and shit about how like comedy is so offensive and it's hurt all these people's feelings over the last few years. So many people love it. And they come up and afterwards and they say how much you made them feel better and their day is the best part of the week. And not only that, people like the offensive shit. Like they really like it. Like I was doing this show at the Comedy Cellar in Vegas the other day, and we all for some reason that night were just fucking like just doing our really offensive hitters. And right as I remember saying some like wildly offensive joke on stage, I saw this woman turn around and goes, yes, this is what I like. This is why I came. It's like that actually is very cathartic to people in a lot of ways, in a way that I think you think people just at comedy clubs all the time just getting offended. No, most people they're like, fuck yes, this is exactly what I wanted to hear.
There's a lot of that in Detroit, I think. Like a lot of the audiences are very much that way, where they don't want to hear people tippy-toe
around
I mean,
come on.
things.
How are you going to be fucking sensitive living in Detroit?
Yeah, I think that's sort of what it is. Yeah.
Really? Dude, I will say
there is some.
I said that,
it's like just like any big city, we have our hipster neighborhoods and
have
stuff.
hipsters,
you know what I mean? Like we definitely.
But it's got such
have
a
our
gritty reputation. If you were like, oh my goodness,
but it's also been gentrified, like most big
Thank
cities.
God. I would not be here for that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that. It's gentrified a little bit. People tell me how gentrified it is. It doesn't. I didn't feel that safe carrying my laptop down here yesterday.
But there is a lot of areas like sort of, where if you're performing at a bar in Midtown here, it's probably going to be like a pretty hip audience, like a young college audience, because that's where Wayne State University is. Okay. And so it's going to be typically a younger demographic there, especially if it's like a free show, at like a hip bar or something. Like, So it's like those audiences do exist here, you know, which I think is like healthy to be in those rooms as well, even as much as you do the other like really solid rooms, you know, because it's like sometimes those people are going to be dispersed within those great comedy club rooms, you know.
Yeah.
They're not as common, like you said. It's usually people who are in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, you know, who have money to go out to a comedy club, like you said. But sometimes you're going to get that younger demographic, I think. I feel like that is, so it's like you do want to be able to also appeal to that. But then there is a lot of times, I feel, where you are just able to do that filthy shit, you know. We did... Just this past week, we had Doug Stanhope on Friday, and then after that, we had the Dirty Show, and it was the first time we did like a Dirty Show here. And in my head, I was like, I don't know how it's gonna sell, maybe like 10 tickets or something. Like I was like, nobody's gonna come out for this. I was like, and we ended up getting about 90 people in here who just wanted to come see dirty comedy. And that's what they wanted to come see.
Pop that shit on the website for tonight. I'll definitely fucking deliver. Why are you putting that up there?
But it was wild. I mean, like, you know, it was something that just sort of it worked better than we thought it was going to work, you know, doing like dirty comedy. And we were like, oh, there's a craving for this, I guess. People want this, you know.
Sure, because even if they haven't heard of the comedians, they've heard of dirty comedy.
Yeah, they know
like,
exactly. They know the genre.
Right.
It's the thing of like people don't when they come to comedy clubs also they don't like look at the comedian a lot of times and then they come in and they're like, oh, I didn't like that comedy I saw. It's like, well, you didn't look what you were coming to see. Like it's like, would you show up to a music venue and be like, oh, I didn't like this rock music that's playing, I'm more into rap. And it's like you didn't look at the musicians who are playing. What are you doing?
We're putting free content up online every 14 minutes. Like you could have watched one bit of it.
There's a video on the page where you go to purchase tickets. You could have watched a clip of Mo Mandel. You know, like if like somebody, you know, like it's like that's the thing. It's wild, but people don't realize there's genres of comedy a lot of times. It's wild.
Like, this isn't like Jeff Dunham. I want my money back.
Yeah, they're like, I wanted clean comedy, and it's like, well, you didn't ask if it was clean comedy. We would have told you it's not. Like,
it's the Dirty Show, bitch. What did you think?
Yeah, we've had people email and ask, like, is this comedian clean? And we're like, we don't guarantee it. Like, sorry.
Well, we've all got stories, huh?
Yeah, that's fun. But, all right. I appreciate you doing the podcast. It's been
Thanks
great,
for having me, man.
honestly. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for watching. It's Detroit Comedy Podcast. Tune in again next week.
The Real Mo Mandel on Instagram. Mo Mandel on Facebook. Follow my wife's Twitter.
Bye.